Hey James, I'm going to take a walk through our quarterly data processing setup, and I first bring up the KPI dashboards, and crossed out are things that aren't really active anymore, so you could still reach any of these, but if it's crossed out, they're not really being kept current. But let's go into the board KPI, and this is the quarterly one, so I'll do this here. I guess the first thing I will do is put this to second quarter of 25. And so I've got that set up, and July and 1st. Okay, so we've got the last 6 months really, but you can kind of see where we're at. We could change that to October 1st, whatever. But we've got some data here, and the important thing is we can see that at this point we actually have data from the last 3 months. So stuff has been entered. A lot of times, since it doesn't get entered till early the next quarter, you may be in December and look at this and there's nothing for October, November, or December. But we're set with this. And let's go back here, and the first thing I want to do is let's go into our Forge KPI sheet. And we will also go into, let's go ahead and do the looker link while we're at it. Okay, so I thought, okay, probably on another tab there. So at any rate, this one basically works on its own to what we can do. So you can see we're all the way up to basically the start date here. It will automatically update when people leave and so on. And what it does is it takes the date of someone entering and then starts tying the scores to that person for that date. So if I was going to say, well, what does that mean? We could look at the old dashboard we have here. And this is just automatically counting what we have as far as all time, last 12 months. And we go through and look at attrition at very different things. And this is all automatically done. We don't have to do anything with this. The problem is because none of the scores for character evaluation or things like that have a date with them associated with the test. I can't say, well, how did our scores, for social capital look for people entering a particular quarter, let's say, and have it show up. So I'm really kind of able to split it into everybody, people who've graduated, and anyone who has started in the last 12 months. But this is really what we have. That's the only thing here that shows this. And it's got some detailed information if we want it there. Now, if I go ahead and once again, I have this, we've got our Forge dashboard. What I need to do with this one is go up and set it for the correct date, just so we can kind of see what's going on. And December, and I will put this one October 1st. And so here's what I've got, and it'll take a sec, but what it's doing is it's pulling in what it sees, and you can split it out by attrition and so on, character evaluation by type. Again, it'll have the same date on it here. So you can kind of look to see what we have, and we can click in here and say, well, let's say what our average character score is, and it will then do that by tying into the date here. But once again, it's just kind of looking at what happened for people who've kind of entered in a particular period, and here's what you've got. So not a deep drill down. All right, let's move back into here. So Forge we basically looked at. Now let's look at the outreach center, and I'll come up into here. And once again, this part is where they're essentially going in and entering the various connections. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and hide those. You don't need to see them. But like I said, you can see all the entries all the way through in the different areas. And the nice thing with this one is it is automatically set up to flow into another sheet we can look at here. But for now, let's just look at the Looker dashboard. And I'm not going to change the dates for every single time, but you can go up and this is essentially showing us, exit outcomes, the various items along here. And once again, this is all set up. It automatically pulls from the OC spreadsheet into here, and will also end up in the overall KPI link. But once again, just set the dates, and this should all be current as you go through with whatever folks have. So if I go back here, that's set. TCI dashboard, we don't do much with it, but let's look at it here briefly. I guess they didn't like that old one, so I think they have a new version, which I don't have at the moment, but Nathan would have it, and that link could be put in. And let's look at a couple more here. I'm going to skip over the KPI timelines. This is really when I was doing work and looking at how much time I was putting in. The volunteer database doesn't need to be touched for the KPI information. Let's look at the KPI data volunteers. And it's going to take us to something we'll go to in a minute. Here's the Looker Studio for the volunteers KPI. Once again, I'm not going to shift change the dates, but everything that would be in here would work. Now let's see. Actually, I will set this up just so we kind of see what is here. And I will go 25 in October. And we'll see what we end up with here. So what we are hoping for is things should be pretty well up to date. And it's still thinking. There we go. And I see we have a problem. Let's look at what we've got. We did this before here, so I'm going to go into edit and see details. Okay. And we're looking at KPI volunteer data. And let's see what our problem may be. I'll just spend a few seconds on it. Okay, so what we're going to do is go into resource and this one, KPI volunteer. Let's edit it. I want to go ahead and refresh the fields. So there's that new field, new volunteers now. And that should put it all together. And I will get rid of this, and I'll get rid of this. And you can see now that that's been corrected, everything's set up for it. So we didn't go into a lot of detail on this one. This one could be built out more, but we've got it. And once again, I just looked at the KPI data volunteers, which usually comes in late. We've got it October and November, and December wasn't there yet. And Washington family, this is the same idea. Here is their database. And once again, for the most part, this is all just pulled together. This was designed more robustly overall to be able to look and get more detail on it. But this should be done from the sheet. I'm just going to get out of here. But we can go into the Washington Family Hope Center Looker dashboard and look at that. Let's do that here for a minute. And so you've got all of this stuff over here let me go ahead and pick up what we see. So I'll go to 25 December 31, and then I will go 25 October 1, and I'll apply. And so you can see where people are at this point, and essentially folks who have started in, and you can work your way through. But once again, this is all getting updated by the program automatically. I'm going to get out of here. And really the last one to look at is this KPI data. And so this is the one we've looked at before. And what you're seeing, here's our OC, Forge. This is all automatically brought in by the spreadsheet. So if something new gets input into the OC KPI data sheet, it's automatically going to post it here. Everything's ready to go. Likewise, this automatically fills in as data is entered into the original student sheet. Washington family, red is we're not inputting into it because once again, this is automatically brought in. And then we've got the volunteer data, which is the same thing. You input it into the volunteer data sheet and it will automatically come over here. Like I said, we're missing the last few items that always seem to come up a little late. So everything flows together for what we have. And if I go in and look at the KPI report, all of these things, once again, this is pulling from the individual, and really all the board sheet is doing is just pulling everything in to look at specific things we thought was most helpful for the board. Otherwise, you could go into an individual dashboard if you wanted to talk about, Forge, for example, and what it would have. You could go into more detail with appropriate, and then just click back out to the overall KPI report here. So that's what I've got. Please let me know if you have questions, but otherwise this, if folks keep things going correctly, everything just kind of flows through the spreadsheets and we're able to pull it out and look at the specific looker report you need. Okay, thanks, James. Let me know if you have questions.